your pain can be either your power or your pain can be your prison, right? So we can take this pain that you're experiencing and turn it into your power because it's that perspective. So we can change that perspective of that pain that we're experiencing and then turn that into our power or our prison. And so this is where gratitude, love, and positivity can really create hope and healing.
This is Dr. Talks.
Welcome back to the Parkinson Solutions Summit. I am your co-host, Dr. Sandra Scheinbaum, and I am so excited to be here today with not only a colleague, but a friend, and that is Dr. Madiha Saeed. She is the Holistic Mom MD. She has a fabulous background, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Madiha, to tell everybody about who you are, about your background.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so incredibly honored. This is one of the topics that I'm incredibly passionate about. So thank you so much for having me. I am a board certified family physician in the Illinois area, so close to you. I became very passionate about chronic conditions when I developed my own chronic issues. I had lupus and Hashimoto's and severe digestive issues and all these chronic health conditions. And I saw that, you know what? The answers didn't lie in conventional medicine. There had to be something more. And that's when I started researching integrated functional holistic medicine. Right out of residency, I joined this medical practice where under one roof, there was me, an OBGYN, an internist, an exercise physiologist, nutritionist, counseling, chiropractor, massage therapy. And I'm like, what? You can treat the whole person? Because again, that's something that we're not taught in medicine. And now 15 years later, this is something I'm super passionate about. I'm currently working on book number 8 and 9 simultaneously. Actually, my kids are working on a book. They have their own podcast called The Holistic Kids Show. So literally, we are so passionate in this house. There's 3 generations educating the world on health and wellness, including my in-laws, me, my children. And so just a little passionate about this topic.
Just a little passionate. I've been on a guest on your Holistic Kids. I love, check this out. This is a wonderful podcast. You are a true expert in chronic inflammation. So let's start there. What exactly is chronic inflammation and how is it connected to Parkinson's disease?
Absolutely. Because today, just like with a lot of other chronic health conditions, Parkinsonism is on the rise. And that is directly also related to chronic inflammation. All of these chronic conditions are related to chronic inflammation. Inflammation actually means fire inside. So it's your body's natural defense responses to your body's immune system trying to keep the bad guys out and the good guys in and even heal wounds. So without inflammation, we would really be in danger and have really no way to fight these microbial invasion or even repair damage that's being constantly inflicted upon us. So there's 2 main types of inflammation. There's a good inflammation and a little bit bad inflammation. So the good inflammation is the right amount of inflammation, acute inflammation. That's a healthy response. It lasts for a short time. It's a good sign that your body and its defenses are working properly. Yay. But if the switch of our immune system stays on in the on position for too long, that could be too much of a good thing. So constant modern life's daily exposures to triggers like chronic stress, toxins, toxic food, allergens, low-grade infections, toxins in our environment can all start to drive disease. And that can really destroy this miracle of a body. And it can take a little longer for this to kick in and to develop, but with a properly functioning immune system, that could keep this fire under control. But with the constant exposures every which way, these inflammatory molecules like cytokines go out of control. They destroy everything in its path, damages tissues and organs, and leading to chronic diseases of every stripe. And chronic inflammation doesn't just affect, our cells, but it can also affect our brain. Studies have shown that inflammation has been found in to decrease the strength of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. And then on top of that, it can also, these inflammatory precursors can increase, like, disrupt the brain chemistry. So it really does lead to a lot of cognitive function and accelerated brain aging. And now studies have actually shown that Parkinsonism is directly related to chronic inflammation.
Pretty scary. What can we do about chronic inflammation and how would that impact mitochondrial health?
Absolutely. So for mitochondrial health, we know now that Parkinsonism is directly related to a lot of the environmental exposures that we're constantly bombarded with. So, for example, I know like the three main contributors to Parkinsonism is outdoor air pollution, pesticides, trichloroethylene or perchloroethylene. So these are all mitochondrial intoxicants. And we know that, so not the mitochondria in and of itself is super important, right? It is the key energy source of our bodies and the powerhouse of our cells. And they're little factories, and each cell holds hundreds of thousands. And they basically take the foods that we eat and convert them to energy, or ATP. And this energy is used to support the bodily functions. So we need healthy mitochondria to have healthy overall health and well-being. And these mitochondria they're able to perceive signals of inflammation that initiates danger signals by activating and managing the innate immune system. So this mitochondria are super sensitive. They can be damaged through uncontrolled oxidative stress. They can then degrade the protein, the membranes, the DNA of the mitochondria. And so again, we need our mitochondria to work optimally because, and by lowering chronic inflammation, by putting our bodies back into balance, we can not only address the immune system, but we can also optimize brain function and the function of our mitochondria to allow each of these cells to work the best that they possibly can. And so there's so many things that we can do in our everyday daily routines that are easy, fast, cost effective to optimize our brain health, our immune health, our gut health, our DNA, and even our mitochondria.
So, can you get into the specifics of some of the things that we could do to optimize our health and wellness? What are some good daily routines?
Absolutely. I mean, so I live with a family and I feed a family of 9 on a daily basis. Actually, 8 with my hands, 1 with my boobs. But like there is I completely understand. It can be really overwhelming to figure out, oh my God, what am I going to actually do to help lower the chronic inflammation, to optimize my mitochondria, and that too on a daily basis in my crazy busy life, right? And the best thing is that our routines are key. So how you wake up in the morning to how you go to sleep and everything in between is super important to optimizing all of these bodily functions to lower your risk of Parkinsonism and other chronic health conditions. And so, for example, these are cost-effective things. Waking up with gratitude and positivity. You know, especially when somebody is dealing with a chronic health condition, is really difficult to wake up on the right side of the bed. Obviously, you're waking up with pain and, sometimes with difficulty, the tremors. And with patients that I've had, it's really miserable. It's really, really difficult. But focusing on the things that are going right in our lives can actually shift that mentality from instead of thinking negative all the time to thinking positive. And that is probably one of the most powerful things that I have started with over the last 15, 16 years. I have worked with every single one of my patients because let's face it, this disease is miserable. No matter what chronic health condition, but specifically the Parkinsonism can really throw you for a whirlwind. So immediately when you wake up in the morning, saying 10 things that you're thankful for every day can actually optimize your overall health and wellness and even improve your immune system, heart rate variability, all of that. Then the next thing is, early morning sunlight. That in and of itself can help. Nature, fasting. So there's so many different pieces in your morning routine, even your food. The foods I stick with more of like a ketogenic, more tons of vegetables, clean protein, healthy fats to optimize the gut microbiome, because now studies have shown that that gut problems are, studies that Parkinsonism can start in the gut. So the foods that we consume are really critical to optimizing the gut microbiome, to lowering chronic inflammation, to optimizing our mitochondrial functions. Because if you look, Parkinsonism, like one of the first first symptoms are usually gut related issues like constipation. So focusing on gut health again is super, super important to helping, to even prevent and improve those symptoms. Again, focus on, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to start? Focus on real foods, vegetables, clean protein, healthy fats, eating the rainbow. The more fruits and vegetables, the different colors that you can get in there, the better. The more phytonutrients there are, the phytochemicals, the more polyphenols that will help with your, overall health and wellness. So many fun ways to incorporate that into your everyday daily routine. That's what I do with me and my family. And a lot of times they're like, what are we going to eat? How are we going to do it? We're going to miss our favorite delicious foods. And I know for somebody who lives this kind of lifestyles, right? I know you do too. So we can still have those delicious treats, but then just alter them, or for example, instead of the wheat, getting rid of gluten, I even getting rid of grains, dairy, sugar, processed foods, but having alternatives is really important and fun. So for example, in my house, the like getting as many foods that you can get from the garden, right, is always fun, especially in the morning time. The kids are always going to the garden, picking up those specific foods, eating the rainbow. So then immediately their eyes are like, oh, yes, we can have all of these foods. They look so pretty and delicious. But then specifically for treats, we use like almond flour or coconut flour or cassava flour. I mean, the list goes on and on, so we can still enjoy our treats with healthy alternatives. So that's something that, and I found that, once we decrease the amount of junk that we eat, we actually increase the amount of great, healthy nutrients that the body can really start to heal itself. And it's fun and delicious and easy. And then, making sure that we incorporate some sort of detoxification on a regular basis. So either that's, or, sauna. I love my sauna, you know, either that's the hot and cold showers for adding a little bit of hormesis in there, which is a good stress that can optimize a good stress that does the body good. Either Epsom salt baths can help with that. Even massages, helping those the lymphatic flow. Again, things that we can incorporate into our everyday daily routine. Now we know that air pollution is directly linked to brain health. So incorporating, making sure that we have air filters. In my house, every room, actually even our main room has multiple air filters. And every room has an air filter. We have plants in our house, and I'm trying to barely keep my kids alive. So therefore, keeping like the easiest plant to grow is like those snake plants, right? Or they're also called mother-in-law's tongues. You can put that in every room. I have multiple in every room to really lower the amount of environmental toxins and the air pollution that's in the house, along with, a lot of the other simple things that we can do, swapping out the bad stuff for the good stuff, right? And then the next thing is stress management, because we know that stress leads to 80% of the complaints that come to primary care physicians. To incorporating some sort of stress management technique into your daily routine is key. In my house, before I really start the day, there's meditation and prayer. The kids incorporate that. They like to incorporate when they come back from school, but incorporate some sort of meditation, breathing techniques into your everyday daily routine are simple things like even going out in nature. I love forest bathing. I know you do too.
I absolutely do.
So we, especially on the weekends, that's what I try to do with the kids. Like we choose a different park to go to. We choose a different or with the family, spend that time outdoors. And that in of itself is really healing. So schedule that nature time and then some sort of stress management technique and then social, keep people around you that are going to lift you up, not drag you down. And then we have is optimizing your sleep. And then we talked about gratitude. So these are simple, quick things that can be incorporated in everybody's daily routine to help lower the assaults that our bodies are constantly being, and giving these are defense mechanisms that we have, but again can be super easy to incorporate into your routine and help you optimize your body. So super fun.
I love it. And all of these techniques and strategies going to lower that inflammation. These are the modifiable lifestyle factors, and this is the coach zone. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, like this is too much, how do I do this in my life? So that is what a health coach can help you to show you where to start in all these areas. And I love that you started with gratitude. So I always, when I get out of bed, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I say, today's going to be a good day and think about what I'm grateful for. And it is so powerful as an anti-inflammatory. That comes from positive psychology, the power of gratitude. So I'm so glad you
Absolutely.
mentioned that amongst all the other areas. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can start
It
very
doesn't.
slow and then add on.
And then again, health coaches are like key because it's so nice to have somebody there with you to hold your hand and figure out where you can start, because not everybody can start. I have some patients that can't start with their diet. They're like, it's too overwhelming. And so working with somebody to figure out, like, where can you start? What can you do is really important. And then it makes it doable. Like, this is super easy and doable, and it less overwhelming if you have somebody there cheering you on. This is why I love what you do, right? Because it makes it so much easier and attainable to those successes,
And those
you know?
successes are real if you
Yes,
start where you're at and you personalize it, and you can go very, very far. And a health coach is the guide to help you getting there. I want
absolutely.
to a little bit more about hormesis. Can you explain exactly what that is and why is it good for us? And how do you get into that state?
Absolutely. So hormesis is basically, I was keeping it super simple. It's a little bit of a stress. It's a little stress that actually helps the body and helps heal the body in so many different ways. So, again, incorporating that into your daily routine is super important and actually can push the body in a way of healing. So these little bit of stresses can actually do good for the body. And the best ways that, again, I try to incorporate, sauna can do that, right? Cold plunges can do that. Um, even if you don't have these kinds of things, something super simple is um is a hot cold shower, right? So hot cold shower is like heat and cold exposure. So if you get into the shower at the end of the shower, you want to immediately, put it like the coldest, start with like 30 seconds, right? And then 30 seconds in the super hot, and then as much as you can handle. And doing that for at least like five cycles to start with, and then you can always increase. The other things, obviously, breath work can also help with that, along with intermittent fasting. So there's lots of different fun, great ways to increase this little bit of stress, because the stress then it can optimize and stimulate the mitochondria that we talked about at the beginning. That is so critical to improve the symptoms and prevent Parkinsonism.
Very, very helpful. So just start slowly and
Stress.
been doing this for quite some time and getting used to it. I always thought I hated the cold. And
Yes, I know, right?
now I feel I'm hardier and I could go out in colder weather and have not have it affect me as much. That's for
Yeah. So these are simple things that we can incorporate that can really benefit us. And it's, and again, I know you're like, oh my God, there's so many different things. Where do we get started? Right? This is where one health coach, right, can help you figure that out. But start with one thing.
exactly.
Start with one thing because just if you just layer these things on, it can make huge benefits in the long run. So there's so much that we can do. It is really, really powerful.
Yeah, and the strategies you are describing are simple, and you don't need fancy equipment. You don't have to go out and invest in a cold plunge tub. You've got it right in your bathtub.
Absolutely. And you know what? Over the last 15 years, I found that these basics are critical in the healing. So you can spend like, thousands on supplements and thousands on all these different things. But if you don't have these key basic, steps of really foundations of healing, then the rest of it is not going to really make a difference. Right. And so that's what I always do with all of my patients. And then what I do is then if that's still an issue, like if there's still symptoms, I really work on all of these, the diet and then detoxification, the stress, the sleep, social, spiritual health, the mental, emotional. So all of these pieces, trauma. And then that's when I start to look at the others. Like that is where making sure that, could there be, insulin resistance? Could there be, environmental exposure? Could there be toxic heavy metals? Could there be a chronic infection? Could it be Epstein-Barr or herpes that can then trigger the immune system leading to inflammation and neurodegeneration? Could it be, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, micronutrient deficiencies, right? Specific deficiencies like, folate, vitamin D, magnesium, B12. All of these can really impact the way that you heal. And then you can then dive into genetic testing and microbiome testing, and then all of those other things. But again, the key foundations are super important, and then slowly building up from there because I have had close family members and friends that have been diagnosed with Parkinsonism. And so I have actually for the last almost year now have really dove into all of these key pieces, but I have found that those foundations was what made the most difference in her symptomatology, where I've had patients where they're like, the doctors couldn't even recognize that they had Parkinsonism. But again, when she went off of a lot of some of these things, when she didn't have that support system, it was very difficult for her to get back. And then some of the symptoms came back. And so this is where it's really important, again, to have a trained practitioner on your side, along with a health coach to help keep these things sustainable and doable and not overwhelming, and to have like a cheerleader on your side, right? We all need cheerleaders. And so, because we all know that improves the outcome.
Absolutely. This is very encouraging that people you've worked with and people you know personally have been able to see improvements in their health status.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it is something we need to sustain. I mean, but again, these are all healthy habits that can not even just improve, the cognitive function, but then the brain health, but also overall body health. And anybody can, and like, this is something, again, if you're dealing with this in your family and your friends, start to incorporate these in your everyday daily routine with the whole family and get the whole family involved. And that's where it really starts to become so beneficial. And that's what I've done in my house is get the entire family involved, because then you don't feel like, oh, I'm just practicing this just for me because I have a sickness. No, everything that we're talking about here and everything you probably heard on this summit is for overall health and well-being, and can be done with the entire family. So getting the entire family involved is super, super beneficial.
Absolutely.
So much fun.
Yeah. rather than isolating a patient. But everything you have described is good for kids, it's good for the caretakers, it's good for everybody, whether it's preventative or it's to reverse a chronic condition and make significant headway into the symptomatology of things like Parkinson's.
Absolutely. So much hope. Yay!
And that is a great place to learn because hope combined with gratitude, those are character strengths from positive psychology. They do more in the healing realm than anything else. And so powerful. This has been a powerful interview. How can people find you, Medea?
They can find me on Holistic Mama MD, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. Then I have a Holistic Kid Show, the Holistic Kid Show podcast. The kids have interviewed over 120 guests, from New York Times bestsellers to, journalists and actors. So that's a great place to get, again, the entire family involved with that. And then my in-laws have a channel, Holistic Urdu MD. I am currently working on my 8th book. So I have lots of books. My first book is called The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease. So lots of fun ways to connect and keep connecting, and to know that, you know what, your pain can be either your power or your pain can be your prison, right? So we can take this pain that you're experiencing and turn it into your power, because it's that perspective. So we can change that perspective of that pain that we're experiencing and then turn that into our power or our prison. And so this is where gratitude, love, and positivity can really create hope and healing. Thank
Wow.
you so much.
Everybody listening needed to hear that. And that just brought tears to my eyes. That's so powerful. Well, you are amazing. Your family is amazing. Check out her materials. Check out the kids podcast. It is really wonderful. And we're talking about interviewing world renowned leaders. So thank you so much for being on the Parkinson's Solutions.
I am so incredibly honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Dr. Talks. We hope today's episode has enlightened and inspired you on your path to optimal health. Each day is a new opportunity to make choices that empower your well-being. For more insights and strategies, subscribe to our podcast and visit our website, www.drtalks.com. Stay connected, stay healthy, and join us next time on Dr. Talks. Real talks from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.